Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. Yeah, so if you haven't heard, my dad died about a month ago, and my dog died a little less than a week ago. He died on Friday, and today's Thursday. The video that I shared when my dog was dying, when I was at the vet, wasn't very long. So just to fill in some holes, he was perfectly fine the night before, ate dinner, was walking slowly but fine. He was completely fine. I wake up the next morning to find him on the floor. He had peed himself. He couldn't stand, couldn't walk, didn't want to eat. So I took him to the vet, and they told me that it was time to let him go because the cancer had most likely spread through his body. There was signs that he was in a lot of pain, like they would just touch his back feet and he would jerk away, and his abdomen was really tight, which it's been like that for a long time, and apparently that's a sign of them being in pain because they're tensing, trying to compensate for the pain. So he was in a lot of pain and had been for, sorry, my camera's being weird today. He was in a lot of pain and had been for probably a long time. So I let him go. I put him down. With my dad, I at least had like about 4 days to be with him in the hospital and say goodbye to him and all that. With my dog, I had about 4 hours or so. So that sucked. I wanted to share some wisdom from my dad. My dad had a lot of sayings. Here's the reason why I have a lot of sayings myself. My stepdaughters have teased me about my sayings. We didn't talk on the phone very much because his hearing was shit, so we texted a lot. It's very hard not having him text me every morning with a sunrise picture and every evening with a sunset picture. I still text him. His phone is actually missing, presumed stolen. But I still send him texts. The first thing I will mention is how he would always end his text, whatever, would be love you, miss you, Dee Dee. And I don't remember exactly how or why the abbreviation of love you, miss you came about. I think it happened sometime during my parents' divorce. And, it's when we started texting more. It was a way to talk to him without my mom getting upset. So I think he abbreviated it himself to that. I don't really remember why, but that became our thing. And the DD, again, that started sometime around the divorce. He came up with it at first. And DD stands for Daddy Dearest. And sometimes we would have contests to see who could come up with the most D words. So like darling, doting, delightful, delirious, whatever. So I'd send him cards or something and I'd write it out from your darling, delightful, devilish, as many adjectives as I could think of, daughter. So I don't know. I don't remember exactly how that started, but it then led to us just calling each other, Daddy Dearest and Daughter Dearest, or DD. sometime around when I was going to college, possibly after my breakup, but I'm not sure. He started using the phrase, we're good muddlers. We'll muddle through, but especially we're good muddlers. He came up with that as a way to tell me, like, essentially, times may be tough right now, but we'll get through this. We'll get through this together because we will muddle through. You know, it's muddling is not just like giving it your all and your hardest and your best. It's the bare minimum to get through. So we kind of use that as a phrase of like anytime we were going through shit, we would remind each other that, you know, we're good muddlers. We'll get through this. You know, slowly but surely we'll get through this because we're good muddlers. Along that same sort of sentiment is bird by bird. For the longest time, I thought it was a true story. I thought he was actually talking about himself, but I found out later that he got it from this book. Sorry about the camera. He got it from this book. I think it was a writing how-to type book. I don't remember exactly. So he stole it from somebody else. I always thought it was a true story. So it's a little disappointing in finding out that no, he stole it from someone else. But so I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my camera today. I'm gonna exit out. This is bugging the shit out of me. I'm so sorry about the camera. I restarted it. Hopefully it will be better. Anyways, so the anecdote goes, this is where I thought it was a real story, but I guess it's not. The story goes, a little boy is freaking out. He's stressing out because he has a test the next day about birds, about bird species and bird biology, whatever, just bird knowledge. And he has all of these birds that he's supposed to memorize their name, what they look like, their scientific name, which it spoke to me because I was going through a similar thing with my biology class in college where I was having to memorize the scientific name of all these frogs and lizards and mammals, and just it was a lot. So the little kid is stressing out, and his mom comes to him and asks him what's wrong, and he explains the situation. And like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to memorize all of these stupid birds? And his mom says, bird by bird. You just study one bird at a time, memorize that bird, and move on to the next bird. Bird by bird. What my dad meant by that, not only like literally, especially when I was studying for my biology class, it became a saying for whenever I was overwhelmed with something, when I felt like there was so much pressure, too much going on, I can't take this, it's just too much, he would say bird by bird. Meaning just take it one little step at a time before you move on to the next. Don't look at the whole picture all at once, just one little part of it, a piece at a time, and keep going. It was really helpful in college. I ended up failing that biology class and having to redo it, by the way, but you know, bird by bird, as in, okay, I failed this class, so I'll try it again and do it over again. I'm trying to remember. He got me started on saying 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. Basically of like, because 6 6 to one side of it, half a dozen to the other side of it. Half a dozen is the same thing as 6. So in other words, it's like, it doesn't matter what you choose, they're pretty much equal. So I've used that a lot around my stepdaughters, and it kind of irritates them because they don't really get it. And they're like, why don't you just say, like, oh, they're the same? Like, because it's more eloquent to say 6 to one, half a dozen to the other. And it expresses more of that feeling of like wishy-washy, of like, it doesn't really matter, they're the same. You know, different labels, but they're the same thing. So I've used that frequently. Either out of frustration of like, that I can't choose because they're the exact same. It's 6 to one, half a dozen to the other. It doesn't matter. But also out of like a calming thing of like, if I say it in more like, 6 to one, half a dozen to the other. It doesn't matter. You know, either like frustrated that it doesn't matter, or more sense of, I'm so sorry about my camera. Or a more sense of calm of like, I could just make whatever choice I want to because it, doesn't matter. They're the same thing. This isn't a phrase so much as a song. I don't know how else to put it, but every time he cooked beans and we ate beans together, he would sing the bean song, which is, beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. Let's have beans for every meal. He would say that every time. And especially if we were farting afterwards. And now the last and probably most important phrase, to thine own self be true. The last words that my dad ever texted me, and I think I talked about this in the previous video, but I'll say it again. The last words my dad ever spoke to me was, to thine own self be true. It's from Hamlet, I have found out. I guess he plagiarized a lot of his phrasings. At the time, it was in response to me complaining about not making any friends at spin class. I felt like as an outsider, I don't wear the same clothing. I don't, have the same style as them. I don't talk about the same things. Like, they're just rest of the class is like very cliquish. Just a certain type of people that I am not. So I was complaining to him about that. Of, if I'm sad that I'm not making any friends. I'm not like the other kids there. And so he responded, to thine own self be true. In other words, of like, who cares if you're not making friends with the other people? Because it wouldn't be your authentic self if you made friends with that type of person. So just be yourself. And he certainly lived and died that phrase. He lived how he wanted to live, and he died because he did not tell anybody he was sick, did not go to any doctors, so he died his own way. My dad was always very supportive of me. He was very proud and supportive of Miha. He was proud of me for doing that. I'm training to be a Sunday school teacher. He was not religious, but he was very proud of me for doing that, because he knew how happy it made me to be around the kids. He was always supportive of everything I did. So I think it's pretty special, pretty appropriate that the last words were, to thine own self be true. And I will try to hold on to that as a reminder of, no matter what is going on, no matter what I'm going through, of just be true to myself. I want to thank you so much for the people who have supported me and donating to my coffee site. I still have a long way to go, though, to be able to pay for everything. So, if you find it within yourself at all to be able to donate even the smallest amount, I will be eternally grateful. And I'm already eternally grateful for all of you all. I will be brutally honest that there are days where I have felt suicidal, to be blunt. Because the two most important relationships in my life, even more so than my husband, they're gone now. My daddy is gone. My dog is gone. They were the people in my life that I never argued with. That, yes, my husband is supportive, but it's a little different with your dad. You know, he was always there for me when I needed him, and I need him, and he's not here. And my dog, god damn it, why did it have to be my dog too? Thank you again for your support, and I will see you next time. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.